Welcome to the Academy Consulting Podcast. My name is Erica, and I have a special guest here with me today. Ken Nodolf has been my client for, I don't know, a year-ish?
Close.
And now I can honestly say that he has become a friend too. We have been, I feel like, on a beautiful journey together in the past year. Why are you here?
Why am I here?
Tell
I'm
me
here
that.
to talk about a faith journey, a major change in my relationship with God.
Okay. Which happened, because you were struggling with some things in life, right? Now,
Correct.
have you ever tried counseling before?
You were going to ask that. Yeah. Yes, I have. I had 3 times that I've had counseling, pretty short-lived. Never really thought counseling or talking to somebody about a problem would solve a problem. Twice it involved trying marriage counseling that really went nowhere fast, and once was with our kids. My wife and I blended a family with 7 kids, and we tried counseling to help
That
with
in
that.
itself is neat for counseling, blending together 7 kids. Goodness.
Yeah, we did it pretty successfully in the end, but the counseling, I don't think we did more than 3 sessions, and it just really didn't help.
Okay.
So trying it with you was very successful, very fortunate, and but up till then I wouldn't have recommended it to anybody.
What I always say to people about Ken, and I'll let you guys know this too, is you're one of my favorite clients of all time, but also the journey that I have seen God take you on, that I have been humbly and so grateful to be a part of, has been nothing like I've ever experienced in my life. And I just think the world has to know. So what I want to start by saying is, let's talk about Ken pre faith transformation, let's say. Pre-Ken, okay? Just a little bullet points as to the kind of guy you were, the things you maybe struggled with before you started coming to see me.
Okay, well, the problem I was having when I came to see you was with family. It was an issue that started at Christmas. I did something at a Christmas celebration that I thought was fairly benign and shouldn't have affected the family, but parts of the family got really upset about it, and several emails went on, and I couldn't figure a way out of it. Of course, I wanted the family to be okay and all of us to get along, and like I said, just couldn't figure out how to get everyone back on the page, and so I started talking to you about it and working a way through it to partly get over my stubbornness in how I thought the answer should come about. So that was one thing. I was pretty stubborn. Thought it should work the way I thought it should work.
He still is stubborn, though, by the way. I should point that out.
Okay, thanks for that. So there was that. As far as my relationship with God at that time, I was pretty religious, had been my whole life, but turns out I really wasn't in a good relationship with God. I did all the right things, but didn't really have the right relationship. I guess that's the big difference between then and now.
Okay, and I think for some people that is easy to understand, and some people are like, okay, what does that even mean? The difference between religion and relationship. And we won't go into that right in this moment, but I think what I would describe you as previous is a very good Christian man. I think you tried to do everything right. You tried to, be honest and loyal and have all the main things, but yet you found yourself in life being a little bit stuck sometimes and had a hard time maybe opening up to people. I would think that, or maybe you had a tendency to be a little judgmental, would you guess?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was judgmental, pretty much a lot. And I wanted to control the things in my life, and um, I had expectations a lot with my family. Uh, I had grown up with a certain way of relating to grandparents and children and my parents, and I thought that's the way it should be with my kids. And of course, the world changed, and my expectations didn't, and that didn't work out well for me. And it took some things last winter to get that all to change, and that was the transformation God made in me, was really to change those expectations and to change the way I looked at other people, to change my judgments, to let go of control and let go of those expectations.
And I'm guessing a lot of people listening to this are going to think to themselves, I wonder what I expect of other people, or I wonder what I try to control, or do I have a more religious experience with God than relationship? So we'll help you kind of connect here as we go along. If you're listening or watching with us, thank you for joining us today. But what was it that sort of put you on your knees, so to speak, in your life, that you had a diagnosis of sorts, health-wise? You had some health issues going on.
Mm.
Yes?
Yes. Well, it started in June. I had I had a hemorrhoid surgery that didn't go well. In fact, in November I had to have another surgery to fix it, which left me in pain. And the month before that, I got a cancer diagnosis. So things weren't going well health-wise at all. And then in March, I started treatments for the cancer, which made the surgeries even more painful because it affected the same area. I started it walking, and in the middle of the walk, spending time in a church praying. Like I said, the pain got awful, and I got mad at the doctors that had diagnosed it, because I thought they had promised some things that didn't turn out the way they said. I got really mad. I quit talking. I quit talking to the nurses that were giving me the treatments on a daily basis. I was supposed to see the doctor every week, and I quit stopping in to see him. I was mad. And after 2 weeks of behaving that way, when I went to church, I prayed and I thanked God for the pain, because it was changing me. It was made me see that I was sinning, that I was wrong in being so mad, that I was wrong in blaming the doctors, that I was not being a good Christian, that I was being stubborn. And that was really a changing point. I finally saw that I needed to have a relationship, a loving relationship, that I needed to start being a better Christian. And that started on me on a journey of trying to find my purpose. I spent probably 3 months, talking to you, to my pastor, looking online, looking in the Bible, and looking for purpose to my life, a purpose to my God-given life. And when I found that, things really changed.
Yeah. I remember sitting in a session with you, and you explaining to me your anger about things and your diagnosis and where you were at and whatever. And I wrote down a couple quotes that you said and that I said in the midst of this journey together. And I think one of the things I said is, if you try to use your cancer diagnosis and your health stuff and you try to think of it as positive, and you say, okay, God, let's team up here. You gave me this, so help me to see your purpose in it. I think we talked about, not thinking so much about yourself and your own pain and your own anger, but thinking outwardly more. So, okay, yes, I'm going through this, but God, show me how I can use this to show other people your love. And I said, you're coming across so many doctors and nurses and all the people in the medical profession that you're there on a weekly basis for treatments and everything else, and let God use you. And the beautiful thing about this man here, that you should know, is he really takes everything seriously. And if I tell him to do something, now, as you know, I can be a little bit bossy. I would like to rephrase that and say, if I encourage you to do something, I really believe that you have put your whole heart and soul into trying. And I've been so amazed at, so what Ken did, we'll just share with you a little bit about with his journey to go into radiation for many days at a time. And every day he made it his mission to make someone else's day better in the midst of his suffering and pain and everything that he was going through. And by doing that, tell us a little bit about how that impacted you or changed this journey to be not so much about you anymore, but more so about the effect that you were having on people.
You mean the cards? Mm-hmm. The cards.
Let me just say something here. In the beginning of this, one of our very first sessions, Ken said to me, I get teary, but I've never really cried in my life. And this was way early on. And I said, you got to get it out. You got to cry. And now a year in, you see what his emotions have been flowing out like crazy. And he's feeling things. You're feeling things that you've never really felt before.
Yeah, the cards. After I was not talking to the nurses for 2 weeks, literally, I would go in. I had to go in every day. And I used to ask them more questions that I should have bothered them with. I started just saying hello, and that was it. Go through the treatment, leave, that was it. So after 2 weeks, I started writing encouragements, little poems, whatever, trying to make their day a little better. I would sign it, God bless you all. And I had to walk by the little room. I called it their control room. It was where all their computer screens were, where they sat while the machine was doing its thing. And I just turn it over and leave it on a desk and leave. And I noticed after a few days that they were taping them up to a cupboard in their room, so it must have meant something.
Taping your notes.
Yep, taping my notes up to a cupboard. And for the last 2.5 weeks of treatment, I left one every day. Like I said, it must have meant something to them because they kept them taped up. But that was kind of my way of apologizing to them and trying to encourage them in their journey. And the last one I wrote was basically that they had saved my life and that I would pray for them every day. And I have been, so I hope that meant something to them, but it meant a lot to me.
And I think I would love to have a conversation with some of those nurses that have encountered you, because how I would have described you to would have probably been the crabby version that they saw those first couple weeks. And I know you're not actually crabby, but I mean, you, previous to this, you were a little bit stubborn and you had your own agenda and you wanted things your way. And if they didn't go your way, it was really frustrating. And so what I always tell people when I meet with them is, especially people who are really stuck in something, I always say, if you can get out of your own suffering and give to someone else, it changes the way you suffer, right? And so what did that do for you in the midst of, like, you're driving to your radiation appointments. Most people might be thinking terrible things about their own health and life and mortality and whatever. But I would imagine instead you're actually praying for the people you're going to encounter there and hoping that the message that you're there to deliver gets heard? Or tell me about that.
Oh yeah, it totally changed the focus off me. Uh, I was pretty much constantly, I have a pad like that on the console next to me while I drive, and I was constantly trying to come up with a new message. I had to come up with a bunch of them, so yeah, it changed the focus for sure. Praying for them, writing new messages. Uh, yeah, I wasn't thinking about me anymore.
It reminds me of something, we talked about this in one of our sessions, and I say this a lot with Christian people, and I use, Jesus' life as an example for all of us to look at. And in the midst of his human suffering, hanging on the cross, he's not there. He's not in it with himself. Instead, he's looking at everyone else saying, "Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do." And I think that's a beautiful representation of exactly what you did here, is take your own mind off of your humanness and connect it with the spiritual side of you, which is God and your relationship with Jesus, and allow that to change. It changed your whole experience, which could have been very scary, very hard, very painful, which I know all of those things were involved in there as well. It's not like they all just went away. But by reaching out, it really changed. It changed your experience, but it also changed your heart.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that I said to Ken early on. I said, here's something you just, please just start to pray is, God, give me eyes to see what you see. And if I say that to you now, God, give me eyes to see what you see. What has he given you eyes to see from a fresh lens, from his lens now, that maybe the first 70 years of your life, maybe you missed?
It's a long time, yeah. I missed a lot. I see people struggling in their own lives. I see, well, when I look at people without judgment, it just changes from criticizing them to praying for them. And that's just such a different thing. I I don't even want to admit what I used to think. See people on the street walking, you could criticize what they look like. You could criticize maybe what you think they did to get to where they are, but then you could turn around and say, well, geez, they're really working hard to maintain their health. It's just a different attitude. And you say a prayer for them because they're trying. It just lightens me. It just makes me feel so good to be having that attitude, having that love for them, instead of criticizing and judging.
Changes.
Yeah,
Changes everything.
It makes me feel so much better not to be in that place.
Yeah. I think one of the ways I always try to describe to people is when we really fully have a relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
He allows us to see what he sees, which is people's hearts and not their actions.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives us a sense that we're all connected. We're all connected, regardless of age, race, experience, everything else. We're all here to be love and show love and witness to people about having eyes to see what God sees, how it changes our earthly experience.
Well, it makes you apply different motivations to other people. You don't think of them with a negative motivation. You don't give them a criticism. You give them a positive, and that helps you quit judging them. And it just helps you see them in God's light instead of yours.
Which is amazingly beautiful.
Oh yeah, it is. Like I said, it just lightened my whole world up.
One of the points of, highlighting your stubbornness in this journey was you did not want to tell your children about your cancer diagnosis for a very long time. I remember you coming in month after month and me saying, so have you thought about telling the kids yet?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, nope, they didn't really care about me much before. I don't really want them to start caring about me now just because I'm sick.
Yeah.
That was your attitude,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so what was it? What finally made you decide that telling them was something that you thought you should do?
Oh, goodness sakes. That's a hard one to remember. Probably a lot of it was you.
Bossiness again.
Well, you convinced me it was the right thing to do.
I remember saying, can't you see that maybe this cancer not only has given you eyes to see other people, but maybe this cancer is the very thing that you need to heal whatever it is going on with the relationships within your family and your kids and the negative that you were feeling around some of it.
Yeah, I remember I hedged my bet because when I told them about the cancer, I told them that I didn't want to get phone calls asking me how I was.
Stubborn again, but
Yep,
okay.
Yep. I didn't want the phone calls to be about the cancer. If they wanted to call and talk to me, that was fine, but I didn't want just to be giving them updates on the cancer. Mm-hmm. So I hedged my bet. So still stubborn.
Still stubborn, but you have seen miracles along the way.
Oh, yeah.
Very beautiful ones.
Yeah. Not only with them, but with other parts of my life, there have been miracles. So it's been a wonderful journey.
One of the things that you have described it as to me, well, first I'm going to quote you a couple things, okay?
Okay.
One of the things that you have said repeatedly is, I don't know what's happening to me. I don't know what's happening. I don't know who I am anymore. And I'm a little bit fearful of where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that for a minute.
Well, for a guy that wants control, being out of control is being fearful. I started seeing messages from God and things I was reading and music I'd listened to for a long time suddenly had new meaning. Prayers were answered in ways I hadn't seen answered before. Just all kinds of things were showing up in my life that I didn't expect. And like I said, when you think you're in control and you're not, it becomes amazing. I told my pastor that I felt like I had walked into an amazing, wonderful forest. I like nature, and I walked into this forest, wonderful meadows, beautiful waterfalls. It was a place I never wanted to leave, but I had no idea how I got there. And he told me it was Jesus. And that's the best explanation I have. I'm in a wonderful place, don't want to leave. I feel so awfully good. And it just feels so really, really good to love other people like God wants me to. And just stay there and keep doing it. And I don't know, like I said, the illness helped me get there, but otherwise I don't know really this whole last winter how it led me there. But it feels so good just to love people like God says we should love people.
Yeah, one of the quotes you said that I love is, God is talking to me through everything, and it's freaking me out, Erica.
It really does. It really does.
I love that. I think I described to you in the beginning something of, it's almost like you have to ask God to just like break you wide open and allow him to come into the parts that you've tried to keep hidden away from the world for years and years and years. And
yeah, I'm an introvert. I don't expose myself normally. So
normally, and now what are you doing? You're praying at family gatherings.
yeah,
You're having conversations with your little grandkids, your teenage grandkids,
with strangers in motels.
strangers in motels, and your introverted side is becoming a thing of the past.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was another big change. It's just, even with my family, I'm talking to my kids about God, that we never really had those conversations. I mean, I took them to church, I got them confirmed, but that was the religious me, the relationship me, talking to them one-on-one. Nope, didn't do that. Talking to people in hotel coffee shops, nope. Saying prayers publicly with my kids. I always let somebody else say the prayer. Literally, I'd have Thanksgiving at my house, but somebody else said the prayer. That just wasn't me. And now I do those things. So God has really changed me. Let me speak out.
So what advice would you have to give to someone who maybe is going through a hard time and has yet to find the good in it?
Just pay attention. Pray, pay attention. And talk to people. Talk to pastors. Maybe talk to Erica. Find somebody that maybe has been there. Open your heart and listen. And be ready to love.
Every negative thing there can be positive things that come out of it. And you are the most beautiful example of that. And I have been so grateful and honored to be a part of your journey. I know that it has nothing to do with me and everything to do with God. And I think I said this in the beginning, is like, if God can take someone who has known him for 70 years and completely change the way you know him and God and relate to other people, it's never too late for anyone. It's never too early to begin, because this kind of way of life, the first thing that I would encourage you to do if you are in a place where you are stuck, and whether you have a relationship with God or you don't, or you're wondering and wanting to explore it, is, God, give me eyes to see what you see. I think that is such a powerful prayer, and not only for yourself, God, give me eyes to see me the way you see it, or God, give me eyes to see this cancer diagnosis or health thing or whatever the crisis is that you're in. Help me to see it through your eyes, God. Help me to see other people through your eyes. And when we do this one simple prayer, I think it's the beginning of trust, letting go of the control, and knowing that our purpose here can be fulfilled regardless of what happens in our life. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Do you have any last words you would like to say?
Last words. I'm a condemned man.
Well, here's there's one more thing actually I want to talk about quickly, is you in your control issue is everyone has control issues. We all do, some way, shape, or form. But the curious thing about you is you want to know the answer. Mm-hmm. And you research and read and fight to find the answer to every little thing. And when it comes to the Bible and God, sometimes those answers are a little bit difficult to find.
A little?
Would you agree?
I agree, they're a lot difficult to find in some cases.
And so God's not done with you yet, as you know and are becoming aware. So in the midst of your transformation and emotionally, and God giving you eyes to see, and how you've become love now in such a new way, his new challenge to you, which you know and we've talked about now, is faith is the belief in what we cannot see. And we say that, but even as I say that, you know that you see it. You know that you've experienced it. But when it comes to finding answers, specific answers, black and white answers in regards to the Bible or God or religion. That is a little bit different of an adventure for you, is it not?
Oh, it is. It is. I still try, but I try with the knowledge that there are things that you just have to live with the question. It's still difficult. I still try to find the answer, but I know sometimes it's just going to be live with the question.
That's what I said. Ken, God is teaching you to live in the questions and be okay not having all the answers. And that comes with trusting that God does. And he already knows.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, like we've talked about, if we knew all the answers, we wouldn't need the God.
Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's true. So where are you at now with your health stuff? Are you on the up and up?
Well, as far as, well, they say it's 2 years before you know for sure, but so far we're on the trajectory that it's cured. So,
amen.
Amen to that.
Well, I know you were feeling a little nervous about coming here today, and because he is such a planner and likes the control, I said, let's just wing it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just see what happens. And I think you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Thank you for your faith. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this journey with you. I am forever grateful for all the things that you've taught me about God and transformation and everything that is possible. And I cannot wait to see what else God has in store for you, because I am certain that this is only the beginning. And you're like, no, Erica, don't. I've had enough.
I can't imagine where it's going to go from here. It's gone so far already.
Right. Well, stay tuned. We'll be back and we'll give you more updates on Ken and people like him. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Good job.